the NCAA champion, longtime NBA, and now proud father of two state champions as freshman, and working with Vasectomy Registry. Carlos Boozer apparently not having any more children, and also, and very comfortable with his with the boxers that you got going on here, Booze. Good to see you, by the way. Why'd you want to? Let's start there with who you're working with today. Why did you want to partner? Let's get comfortable.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working. First of all, thanks for the introduction. Appreciate that. Shout out to the young state champs. My kids just won state, but basically this is March Madness, and this is like one of the best times for guys to get a vasectomy. 30% uptick on that, because guys can just sit down, watch great games all day long, starting around noon, and enjoy basketball. It usually is the perfect time to do it. So I partnered up. I'm helping Vasectomy Registry. Guys sign up for that. Saks will give these guys a great package. The underwear is extremely comfortable. They got the ballpark pouch that really protects your balls and protects them while you're sitting there and you're recovering. So I decided to partner up with them, and I'm having a great time. The underwear is extremely, extremely comfortable.
I love it. Comfort is a big.
It's a big deal.
It is. I mean, listen, if you're going through it, you might as well get paid off a little bit or be as comfortable on the back end as possible. So,
right.
so shout out to Vasectomy Registry, and shout out again to Cameron and Caden. I want to know what you think you did right as a parent to get him to this point.
I mean, honestly, when I was a kid, literally just put them in everything, football, baseball, basketball, soccer, the whole gamut. And they ended up loving baseball and basketball. And then they started getting really good at basketball. And then they just told me, that they wanted to play basketball and basketball only. And I said, okay. And so me and their mom put them in a bunch of camps. We had the best trainers that we could find in Miami, coaching them and training with them. And then they really started to take off. And then they were coming to us for more help and more training. And the good thing about it is they got the hunger, they work hard. They got a great passion to want to improve every day, and they're good. They're 14 and they just won state. They beat the number 20 team in the country. Now they're the number 18 team in the country as freshmen, which is very impressive to me. But just very, very proud of them and their coach Andrew, and the rest of their team.
Does Dad have to keep the ego down a little bit? Like, don't put yourself in the league quite yet. Do you do any of that?
Nah, they're already humble. They're super humble. They know it's a long journey between now and their goals of getting to the NBA, but they're down to do the work. They're down for that ride and that journey.
Let's roll through the league for just you have so many cool stops, but since I'm a Chicago guy, I want to start there.
Awesome.
Your first year, 62-20, you go to the Eastern Conference Finals, go up one game to none in Miami, end up losing the series. But I'm looking at that team, put you on the spot here, Booze. E. Rose, Keith Bogans, Luol, yourself, and Joakim, versus this current Bulls version. Lonzo, Levine, DeMar's having an incredible year, Vooch, and whoever they're going to put at the four. I mean, Patrick Williams would have been there, but he got hurt. Which is the better team?
Our team. I mean, hands down. I mean, the one of the biggest reasons is people forget we were number one in defense all year. This team is very good offensively, but I think they're 0-16 against the top teams in the league. So they really haven't beaten anybody good yet. They're very good and they're very talented, and I think they're getting a good buzz around the city of Chicago because they're up at the second seed in the East, second seed in the East, which is terrific. But they got to get the wins that count, because that's what you're going to go through to get to the championship. I think DeMar DeRozan's having an MVP caliber season. Zach LaVine is one of the toughest guys in the league to guard. Their big fella coming in from Orlando gave them a huge boost. Vucevic, I think he's very, very talented. But come on, bro. We got D Rose with the city on his back. We got Luol Deng, the Iron Man himself. We got the Defensive Player of the Year in Joakim Noah. And oh, by the way, we had the original bench mob with Taj Gibson and C.J. Watson and the unheard guys. These guys are studs. They could be starters on other teams. And we had Coach Tibbs and his defensive scheme. I feel like our team was literally, a D Rose healthy being away from winning one or two championships.
So that's what I think. I'm not sure if you get one, but you're right there. Like,
yeah.
You're when you look back at the Miami series, you guys had leads in the fourth quarter in a lot of games. I'm wondering, like, if late at night when you're thinking about that, why it didn't work out? Was it just that the Heat were better, or do you like kind of play around with we should have done this?
Oh, listen, man, in the moment that haunted me for the whole summer. We felt like we had a team that should be cutting the nets down, hoisting the trophy up, especially in 2010 and again in 2012. But the reality of it is, LeBron was very good, especially down the stretch of those games. D Wade was terrific as well. And sometimes the ball doesn't bounce your way, and sometimes you're playing an opponent that has everything rolling. They had it rolling. It's tough to beat those guys without your best player. In 2010 we had D Rose. We just couldn't get the job done. We put that on the chin, and we take our hats off to our opponent. Moving forward, we didn't have him in the postseason to really upset those guys. So I think it haunts all of us that we know if we would have kept D Rose healthy, we would at least got one.
Yeah, I love that team. Chicago loved that team. It
Thank
was
you very much.
the city was hyped, and winning championships is sweet, but the heart of that team lives on forever. So I appreciate it in Bulls lore.
I also want to say this though. I'm rooting for this group. They come together. They came on very strong. They just got to get over the hump against the good teams, the Milwaukees and the Brooklyns and the Philadelphias and some of the teams out west that they've lost to. If they can find that mojo come playoff time, they should be all right.
Well, and they're getting their grind. Hopefully, their grimy guys back in Caruso and Ball, and maybe they'll defend a little bit better.
Caruso's huge. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you mentioned LeBron. You know when he came into the league, you were there in Cleveland. What can you give me a rookie LeBron story where you're like, okay, this dude's legit?
Yeah, I mean, you never know, right? A kid coming out of high school, even though his hype was like never seen before in the NBA. And I'm a pro. I'm in the league. I've been to college, whatever. We hear about LeBron. We saw him play a couple of times in high school, and he looks terrific against the high school competition. So you're like, oh, he's going to be able to play and compete. We get him on campus to get him to practice. He got the ball. He drives down the baseline and he jumps over Milt Palacio, like leaped over him, spread his legs, laid the ball in, and I'd never seen that before in person. Now I heard stories about MJ, I heard stories about Dr. J, but I'm witnessing an 18-year-old kid jump over a 6'5" point guard and lay the ball in, and he took off from outside the paint. And then on top of that, right away we knew that he was our best player. He passed the ball, he got by people, he wanted to draw on the defense and kick it. He made the game so much easier and so much fun to play with. Right away we knew he was our best player.
Was he humble at that point? I mean, like, how did he defer?
Yeah, super humble. I mean, that's the thing about it, right? This is a guy that could probably average 25 his rookie year. He only averaged 20 because he was trying to get everybody involved. And like the new kid at school and you want everybody to like you, that's where LeBron was at his rookie year. And then at some point in the season, Ricky Davis was like our leading scorer.
Yeah.
And I could tell that LeBron was always deferring to Ricky because he was the vet, he was a scorer. I mean, he was so much a scorer, his rubber band said, get buckets, you know what I mean? But we're struggling. And we remember, I don't know if you remember, but we missed the playoffs by like 2 games. Milwaukee was like the 8th seed that year or something like that. And we were 2 games out. And there was a point like with 20 games left where I came in after a loss and I came in the locker room and I said, like, when are you going to step up and just take over? Like, that's how good he was. And you don't always come across a teammate of yours that can literally do whatever they want. And we had that in an 18-year-old kid in LeBron James. And when I said that, it might have been like 30 games left in the season or 40 games. They traded Ricky Davis. LeBron took over, and that's when we started to make our run towards the playoffs, but we just missed it by 2 games. So in my opinion, if he takes over earlier in the season, we probably make the playoffs his rookie year.
It's a big leadership move by you right there. How did he take it when you came to him?
Well, I think he was surprised, but we all knew, but somebody had to say it. And I've been around great teams in college, and this is my first team in the second year in the NBA, and we went through a real struggle bus. My rookie year, that's how we got LeBron. We only won 17 games my rookie year. Now, some of that was on purpose. Gordon Gund and the Cavaliers knew what they were doing. We'd have guys having 25, 30 points, and they wouldn't play in the fourth quarter. They ended up changing the history of that franchise forever by getting LeBron. So they knew what they were doing long term. But what I wanted to say was, I just knew he was our best player, and he needed to know it, and he needed to be set in front of the entire group. And that's when he really took off.
I got 2 more stops I want to get in here with you. Number 1, you were just at Duke for Coach K's, and you won a championship there. Do you look at your Duke tenure like sweet that we got one, or should we have gotten more? You know, you guys you played with some great players, but it's so hard to get one in the crazy world that is the tournament. But anything about Coach K, his impact on you, or just the Duke experience that you'll forever carry with you?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I call it the foundation, my 3 years at Duke. Like it gave me a foundation of who I was going to be, not only as a basketball player, but who I was going to be as a man. The discipline it took, the togetherness that it took to win and be a part of a group, a team. Those lessons I still take with me. Being able to like go on to the next play, like you have a bad play, if you dwell on it, it'll mess up the next play ahead of you, which is kind of similar in life. If you go through something tough and if you dwell on that moment, you can't receive the blessing that's coming forward. So there's a ton of lessons I learned at Duke. I call my Duke experience the foundation because it gave me the foundation of who I would become. And that week, this past weekend with Coach was awesome, man. I think the biggest mark for me is when you have someone that is like hanging him up, like putting his jersey in the rafters, and you see all the people that came back to support him. Obviously, over 100 players, but also close friends from his 42 years of coaching. It lets you know that he touched these people's lives outside of coaching them or outside of the basketball court. And that's the mark of Coach K.
Were you afraid of him at the start? Like,
No.
just intimidated? No. Okay.
No, I mean, I was never afraid of Coach. I was like, I respected him. It was like I got recruited by everybody in the country, and I chose him because he challenged me. He didn't promise me a starting spot. He didn't tell me I could skip school like all these other schools did. He didn't give me no money like some of these other guys got. He was like, whatever you want to achieve, you're going to have to earn it. And I was like, I like that. I mean, it was attractive to me. So I appreciate Coach the way he is and the way he is as a man. And even with that team losing that game, a lot of pressure on those kids. You walk in the building, you see all your favorite Dukies. Yeah. You got Grant Hill and Christian Laettner and Jay Will and Dunleavy and Battier and myself and whoever else they look up to. And there's so much pressure on these freshmen. They're 18 years old and they've never been in that environment before. And they lose that game, a game that they were winning the whole game. He comes out, he's pissed, of course, and he's like, this is unacceptable. But he's also like, there's more basketball to be played. We got the ACC tournament coming up. We got the NCAA tournament coming up. Even though he was disappointed in that night and how they finished it, he looked over at us and goes, look, we didn't play good tonight, but there was some time that you guys didn't play good either. You know what I mean? Just he made it light for them so that they can get re-encouraged for the tournament. So I appreciate the way he coaches. He's going to be sorely missed in the game, what he's going to be able to do for basketball, USA basketball as well. But great moment for Coach K. And wait a minute, before we go, remember, guys, go to sax.com/registry, and that's Sax spelled SAXX.com/registry. Get your stuff now.
Get it done. Booz, give me 30 seconds on Kobe. 35 games, he had a torn rotator cuff.
Yeah,
you competed against him, and then you got to be with him.
Yeah, it was tough. I mean, Kobe's one of the illest players that ever laced him up. I got to go to LA, and we were going to have a loaded team. We had Steve Nash. He ended up retiring in training camp. We got two really good rookies. Kobe ended up tearing his rotator cuff, and it was a down season. But before he got hurt, he was still beating everybody in 17 sprints. He was still getting up shots late. It was like his body was wearing down, but his mind was still in it. And just being around that greatness, I mean, he's a big bro of mine. May he rest in peace. We miss him and his daughter, Gigi, tremendously. But his legacy will live on forever. You see the guys that he was training with, the Tatums and the Greek Freaks, and these guys are dominating the NBA now. So his legacy lives on through others.
Yeah. Booz, great to see you. Appreciate the time.
Anytime.